Hello, you're listening to Coffee and Culture. We're on Talk 1260 and 103.7 KTRC, streaming at santafe.com. It's Coffee and Culture, and I am your host every other week. My name is Matthew Chase Daniel, and today I'm talking with Adrián Aguirre, and I'm talking about the Lena Wall. So the Lena Wall is exterior wheat paste and mural project that I curate and organize and fundraise and glue up with other people at 1805 2nd Street, which is the corner of 2nd Street and Lena Street here in Santa Fe. And I've been doing it for a few years now, and had great community support and support from the city of Santa Fe and New Mexico Arts and GoFundMe donors and Artisan Art Supply and Dunn Edwards Paint, all different ways of supporting, and sometimes volunteers who just come by and help paint or glue or things like that. So last year, about this time, maybe last July, Chip Thomas installed a big piece about the Los Alamos Bomb Factory, otherwise known as Los Alamos National Laboratories, which is gearing up to build a lot more bombs rather than just do research, which some of us don't love, including Chip, including me. So that was up for about 6 or 7 months and then came down. And while I was installing that, I met Adrián Aguirre, who's an artist who lives in Las Cruces and grew up in Juarez and in El Paso, and is doing important work, drawing and painting about migration and immigration and the border, which is an area that he is very familiar with, having spent much and most of his life at that weird border, which is I've spent a lot of time along the border doing artwork and trying to just get a sense of what that space is. Anyway, welcome, Adrian.
Hi. Thanks, Matthew.
So the work we have, there are 7 pieces, I think, that we're gluing up in the last couple of days here.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and we chose them sort of together. I think I went through your website after I had asked you if you wanted to do it, and you said you did. And then I suggested some, and you suggested some. We went back and forth a few times to get it right, and that was a really enjoyable process. And I wasn't fully aware of, because that was all done by email, of your process. But it turns out one wall along Lena Street is Venezuelan immigrants,
right? Yeah,
that you met in El Paso, and the other wall along 2nd Street are day laborers in Denton, Texas, from a number of years ago.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and so one thing that I find in all of the work, both sets of work, is a real strong connection. It doesn't feel like you're looking at these people from afar. It feels very intimate and personal, and there's eye contact. And I just wanted to ask you a little bit about the process of, are you taking photographs? I think you were saying you were doing some drawings on site with the people. Like, what's your process of engaging with people and making the work?
Yeah. So that's true. I usually talk to the immigrants or the day laborers, and I have a conversation with them just to get to know them and get them comfortable with me drawing them or taking a picture of them. And I think that for me it also works as a way for me to get to know who they are as a person, what their personality is. And so when I go back to the studio and I'm looking at the reference photo, I'm not looking at a random stranger. I have a sense of who they are, even though maybe I've only spoke to them for a few minutes. I get a sense of like, oh, well, this person was quiet, this person was very outgoing, or this person was very friendly, very nice, or just that. And then so when I paint, and I'm like painting their facial features or things that we as humans recognize as having some psychology or having depth to it. So then as I'm rendering it, I'm also thinking about who they are as a person and trying to capture that in that portrait.
Yeah. Well, it really comes through. I think so. That's part of what makes it strong, because we have. We were talking earlier a bit, and you were saying that there's this image in the media, both conservative media and liberal media, of sort of demonization of immigrants and migrants and people along the border who are trying to get into the United States from other places. And there's a lot of fear, and a lot of people are scared. And part of what you're working to do is to show this human side. Like, these people are like our brothers and sisters and children and parents and friends and neighbors.
So in mainstream media, or conservative media especially, you see these big groups, so faceless groups of people that are coming over the border, the caravans, and you're supposed to be afraid of them because you don't know where they're coming from. And you hear stories about, usually it's all negative stories. So anytime any immigrant commits a crime, it's like national news, right? So, but you don't ever hear about the hundreds of people that come here and work and pay taxes, and they're raising families, and and are contributing to this country. And that's who, when I've met this people, the people that are, they're either in refugee camps or camping in El Paso. They're just here, and they're like anybody else that you meet in the street. They're just trying to make a living and escaping a dangerous place, escaping poverty, escaping violence.
Yeah. And a lot of, there's been so much increased migration all over the world in the last 20 years, maybe.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is climate change, and part of it is world geopolitics, and
right.
And it's a confusing thing for people of the United States or of France or England, or the places that people are generally wanting to come to, because they feel, when they get fearful, they feel like there's limited resources here, and if everybody comes, those resources will be diluted, and there's not enough to go around. But I don't think that's how resources work. I think, as you point out, like, people are coming here to work hard, and a lot of Americans aren't wanting to work hard, and that's, to go deeper into the politics, trying to stop importing things and have manufacturing in America again, in the United States, like we had in the 50s, is a big challenge if the United States wants no immigrants doing labor work, and Americans don't want to do labor work. What is that plan is not very well thought out.
Yeah. This I don't think people realize the contribution that immigrants make to this country, and what would this country be like if all the Mexican and Central American immigrants left? I think it would affect this country in a negative way, and it's I don't think it's because Mexicans or anybody is especially hardworking. I think we're trying to make a living, and we find the jobs that are there. Because as you said, maybe nobody else wants them, or maybe it's people that are using our immigration system in a way that advantages them. So I think that some of the people that Trump is listening to, they're like, hey, don't take our workers away. Maybe draw an exception for them, right?
Right, because the immigrant. Well, actually, we have to go to break, but we'll be right back. You're listening to Coffee and Culture. My name's Matthew Chase Daniel. I'm talking with Adrián Aguirre. You're back listening to Coffee and Culture. We're on Talk 1260 on 103.7 KTRC in Santa Fe, streaming at santafe.com, and podcasts of past programs are on my website, chasedaniel.com, or anywhere that you get podcasts if you look for Coffee and Culture with Matthew Chase Daniel. And here over in the Cloud Cliff Bakery courtyard on 2nd Street with Adrián Aguirre, and we're taking a break from gluing up a bunch of Adrián's reproductions, prints of Adrián's drawings on the Lena Wall, and which is on Lena Street and 2nd Street. We were talking about labor and work, and, if you come from a country where a dollar goes a lot farther than it does in Santa Fe, and you come to I used to work doing construction, building houses, and bought some places and fixed them up, and worked with a bunch of migrants who didn't want to come here and live here forever. They wanted to come here and work and save enough money to go back home and have a better life in Oaxaca in a little village. And they were camping in their broke-down van in the rail yard and working really hard and saving money, and beautiful, intelligent, hardworking, honest, lovely people who's taught me how to speak Spanish largely. They weren't interested in learning English or, it was... and it was just a beautiful cultural exchange, and the money they earned, some of it got spent here, but a lot of it was for their families, and a lot from hard circumstances. A guy I worked with for years, at 6 years old, he left his home and went to the city in Puebla because there wasn't enough food for all the family, and made his way. And I think I don't know if I'm trying to make a point here or not, or just rambling on, but I think the humanizing of a population that can be demonized in our culture and our media is just so important. And I think that's really what these drawings do. And printing them the way we've printed them at huge, larger-than-life scale is part of that somehow. I don't know how you feel about the scale of the work. And
no, I think it's really cool that seeing these drawings that I made in the studio and then seeing them on a wall at a monumental scale is impressive. And I think I'm looking up at a person that I met many years ago, but they're big, but I could somehow that scale also makes their presence more important, and it makes their personality a little bit stronger in a way. It's kind of hard to explain, but what I see, looking at that guy we just pasted on the wall, and he's looking. A little bit to the side, but he's much larger than me, and so there's something to that. I think that strengthens that power.
It's an honoring, like a monumental sculpture. Like some general on a horse in some plaza in some. Like they used to make. We don't make those anymore, but and the work here is temporary too. And there's something about ephemeral work, or these installations that we do on the Lena Wall, which are both, there's that honoring, but then there's also the ephemerality. Like, people come, people go, people move around, the world changes, the country changes. And I think that's important, to embrace that change.
There's something about that texture, the brick that comes through the pasting, that also is interesting visually, and makes it feel more physical, rather than having it be a printed poster. And then as time goes by and things start to peel off, you'll start seeing some change. Just like you said, everything changes, and it'll make you think about different things about our country changing and the lives of immigrants changing.
Yeah. I think a lot of the fear that people bring to the immigration issue comes from a fear of change. And that whole, Make America Great Again slogan has to do with some mythical, I don't know when, 1950s, 1850s?
I don't know.
Time when things seemed simpler and better for some people and much worse for other people.
Yeah.
And that's, we met that guy yesterday when we were gluing up who was like, I don't want murals in Santa Fe. I want everything to look like it did when I got here in 1973. And brown stucco and and I said, I have some bad news for you. Everything changes.
Right. And I'm sure there was people in the 70s that were like, I want Santa Fe to be like it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago. There's always that sentiment, the sense of nostalgia. I think I respect some of that sentiment. There's a sense of like, oh, I miss the way things used to be. But I never want that to harm anybody. Like that, my desire to keep things a certain way shouldn't stop people from living.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a complicated thing because like Santa Fe is a big tourist economy and an art economy and state government and other things, but the tourist economy is based on this mythology of Santa Fe as a certain way.
Right.
Whether it's like the harmony of the three cultures, the Hispanic and the indigenous and the Anglo, which is often not very harmonious, and there's a lot more than those three cultures. Like you yourself are someone who you were born in Juarez, but you went to school in El Paso, and so you're back and forth really of both cultures. I mean, talk about that.
Yeah. It's in El Paso is very interesting in that way that it's you go to a store and it's not rare for people to come to you and speak to you in Spanish. So like the attendants, they're like, "Hey, can I help you with anything?" But they'll say things in Spanish. I used to work at UTEP, and I would talk to my coworkers in Spanish, and so you go back and forth between English, American culture, and Mexican culture, the border in that way is very interesting, and it's. There's a beauty to that that you're able to like go back and forth between the two cultures, and then the mixture of those is its own subculture.
That's right.
Yeah.
I remember because when I met you, I've been calling you Adrián, and then we were at that art opening at NMSU, and you met my wife Julia, and you said, "My name's Adrian," and I was like, "Oh shit, does he go by Adrian or Adrián?" And then I asked you, and you're like, either one, both, back and forth. Depends who you're talking to. And so everyone's like sizing everyone up and deciding whether to speak to you in Spanish or English or me less so.
Yeah. I go by both, but there's something to being called Adrián that kind of that feels more closer to home. Like my parents call me Adrián, and my family, my brothers, my cousins, my extended family. That's how they talk to me. So
yeah. I think it's nice to go back and forth, and it's also probably strange in a way to have. I mean, when I lived in France for a while, and I called myself Mathieu instead of Matthew, because that's the French version of that name. And it just seemed to work and be easier in certain situations, but not all. I guess it's the same kind of thing.
And I think a lot of immigrants do that. They say, "Oh, I'm just going to have this name while I'm here," and it's still who I am, but it's who I am here. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to go to another break. Matthew Chase Daniel talking with Adrián Aguirre. You're back listening to Coffee and Culture. I'm talking with Adrián Aguirre, who has new work, drawings, maybe painting, mostly drawing, up on the Lena Wall. So the process we did for that were Adrián's drawing, which are maybe 2 or 3 feet by 3 or 4 feet, pretty large drawings. And some of them very meticulously rendered in some portions and others very gestural. So there's this sketchy quality to them, but also a real intimacy, and in a way you've made the most finished feeling thing is in the faces and the part that's really communicating. And I think that really helps us when we see the work. We're drawn, boom, to to the eyes and to the face.
Yeah.
But then there's a overall composition which is very compelling, and that intimacy of the gestural work in there, I think, helps when a drawing or something is rendered meticulously all the way across. Somehow, it might lose some immediacy, or I don't know.
Yeah, I admire artists that are able to like render everything out, but it never felt right for me. For me, I think one of the things that I prioritize is getting a sense of life, of getting the portrait to come alive, and it feels a lot. It feels better when I start with a gesture. And, you know, in art school, that's what they teach you. So you capture movement with gesture. Your figure drawing class, you're like gesture for 10 minutes or whatever, and then and so that training and that thought process is what I brought into these drawings. That I usually start with a quick gesture, just try to capture the movement and life, and then I start to like make adjustments. And so oftentimes in my drawings you'll see a little bit of a ghost of where I started, and it's like a line a little bit off to the side of the head where I first started to put the head, but then now I changed it so
right.
to be more proportional or whatever. And then but that movement is still there, that gestural line is still there. And then I started to render some things out, the portrait, the eyes, the mouth, and then I leave things out. Or, so I make a judgment call, you know, where do I leave things as they are, just like the initial mark that I made.
Yeah. And you were saying some of the drawings on the 2nd Street side, there's a couple where there's men holding a sheet of paper, and it's fair, you can't really see what's on there, or it's blank. But you were saying that those were actually, when you met those people, you were making drawings of portraits of them on site and giving them those drawings, and they were holding them up. Just to talk a little bit about that process and how that...
Yeah, so this was when I was in Denton in studying my MFA, and there's an intersection in Denton there where they set up a kiosk, not a kiosk, a gazebo, and there's a little plaza, and so a lot of men would hang out there looking for work. So every Saturday I'd go there for a year. This is my last year in grad school, and I started first just by sketching. I was just hang out there sketching, and eventually some of the guys started talking to me, and they're like looking at my sketchbook, and they're like, "Oh, that's cool. Can you draw me?" And I was like, "Oh, sure." And so I started drawing their portrait, and then I would give it to them, and as a way to document that process, they would hold up that paper that that portrait that I had drawn of them on site, and then I would take that picture. And so when I went back to my studio and I started looking at these reference photos, and then looking at the photos that I had taken of them holding that paper, there was something to them holding that paper that felt meaningful, that could mean something else. And so as I started drawing it out on paper, I left out left that the sheet of paper blank, where everything else is rendered, just a way to symbolize or to represent something. To me, it could represent the documentation. This is my missing documentation, or missing papers, or here's my person. Here's my humanity is here. My portrait, right? So not my portrait, my face. But this government doesn't recognize me as a person because I'm missing this document.
Right. So it's playing with undocumented. You're documenting them with your drawings, and they're undocumented as a label because they don't have the right paperwork.
Right.
But they're fully there, so
Yes.
they're holding their undocumentedness which was a document of them, while you're doing another document of them in a certain way. It's a great sort of spiraling meaning in that, and also because we're talking about that now, but when you see the drawings, it doesn't say that. So everyone who sees it gets to bring their own interpretation of that, which I think is important in art. That it's not too didactic. It's not like I made this to say this. Earlier we were talking about. Someone was asking you, like, why do you make this? What are you trying to say with your art? And it's like, which is a good question and an important thing, but it's also like you make the art in order to bring these things up, and they're not necessarily 100% describable.
Yeah. I think that it's as you said, it's more powerful when we let the viewer make up the meaning by themselves. If we tell them what it means, then it doesn't. I don't think it's as compelling or as powerful.
Yeah. Here we're at Coffee and Culture talking with Adrián Aguirre. He has new and older work, but it's newly up at the Lena Wall at 1805 2nd Street, the corner of Lena and 2nd Street in Santa Fe. And it'll be up for, we'll see how long it lasts. We mix some acrylic gel medium into the wallpaper glue this time, so we're hoping it lasts a little longer. So thanks to our friend Chip Thomas for suggesting that we make it more permanent. He was very gracious, as his work was more impermanent than we would have hoped, I guess. And we're going to go to a break in a minute, but Adrián lives in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and work around the border and immigration, and beautiful work. And you also work at NMSU?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I manage a studio. So there's a studio called Innovative Media Research and Extension, and it's part of the College of Agriculture. It's part of Extension, and we serve as a state. But a lot of the things that we do are collaborations with researchers all over the country. And we make games and animations. So there's a researcher that wants to communicate something about the research, or wants their students to understand a concept a little bit better, a little bit differently than what they see in the textbook, and then we create an animation or a game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So that's a whole different set of skills than you use in your drawing.
Yeah.
It's programming, or it's digital graphic design, or a combination?
Yeah, it's a combination. Yeah, combines animation, illustration, programming, instructional design. So a lot of different disciplines come together, and
Nice. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
It's all about communicating things to people, I guess.
Yeah.
In that and in your drawings. We're going to go to our last break. We'll be right back with Adrián Aguirre. You're back listening to Coffee and Culture. My name's Matthew Chase Daniel, talking with Adrián Aguirre. We broadcast at Talk 1260 and 103.7. KTRC are the call letters, and it streams at santafe.com. It's on Saturdays just after 2 p.m. and then repeats on Sunday just after 2 p.m. And you can listen to past conversations I've had with all interesting people only at look up Coffee and Culture with Matthew Chase Daniel on any podcast platform, and you should be able to find it. Been doing this for, I don't know, a couple years, every other week, so there's a bunch of them out there. And today I'm at the Lena Wall with Adrián Aguirre, and the Lena Wall, there's two pieces up right now, Adrián's drawings, and also there's still the mural by Three Sisters Collective, Autumn Dawn Gomez as the lead artist on that. Now I'm forgetting the title of it, but Creator of Worlds. Anyway, doesn't matter. You can see that on the corner of Lena Street and 2nd Street in Santa Fe. And Adrián, you were mentioning you recently did a residency at Tamarind in Albuquerque.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, talk about that.
It was a 2-week residency at Tamarind, and it was. I had been wanting to do lithography for a long time because it felt very connected to drawing, and it's most of my practice is drawing, charcoal drawing, and the mark makings is the process or the initial process in lithography is very similar to drawing, but obviously like who has a lithography press? Not many people, and
yeah.
Tamarind is known all over the world for its for lithography. So I was really happy to go spend 2 weeks with the printers. I worked with 2 student printers, and they basically worked with me and did everything I asked them to do, and to get my vision, bring my vision to life with regards to lithography, because they're experts in how do you mix the ink and what the process is like. How do you get the look that I want, and so they work with me. We work with different techniques. I love drawing on that stone, so they got a big, huge stone, and they moved it with this machine because it's so heavy. And then
how big is the stone? What's the?
So the print itself is 22 by 30. And,
oh wow!
And the stone
big.
is bigger than that. And then they were able to prop it up like an easel, and then I drew on it with crayons. And
so you draw the stone. And the stone's like 4 inches thick or something,
yes,
3 or 4 inches. So it's this thick, heavy limestone, or some sort of very fine stone,
yes.
And you grind it down with those round things with the little handle that you spin around.
Yes, I think
I've seen that. I studied lithography a little bit in school with someone who had studied at Tamarind, but just for a few weeks, so I got a basic sense. There's a sensuality to it. That's wonderful. So you draw on the stone with crayons or any oily medium,
right?
Something that's not water-based on a dry stone, and then you moisten the stone. And that's so the moisture resists the ink or something.
I'm not.
They know all of that.
They showed me it, but I would probably mess it up if I try to explain it to you now. But it's the basic principle is that oil and water don't mix,
right.
And so that's how they are able to get the print to work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so if you work on the drawing and there's something you want to change, can you go in and erase?
So it's not like drawing with charcoal, but you can get an eraser and work subtractively. But there is a way to erase. It's just you can't go back and forth a lot. So basically, you draw it with the crayon, and then if you want to erase, you can scrape out with a knife or with sandpaper,
right?
And that works. But then you can't draw on it again because you remove that texture of the stone.
I see.
Yeah.
And then is it one color? the work you were doing? Or
So we
several
did a
colors?
4-pass lithography. So it does have some color, mostly black and white. But we added a few hints of color. So that I did 2 prints, and they're both of parents crossing the river with their kids over their shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
So I drew them, and then in one of them I did the water in color, so I added some blue, and then the other one I had the vegetation in the background, some of the leaves in green. So there's just hints of color here and there. Yeah.
And do you do that on a second stone, or is it working on the same stone?
Yeah, so the key, so the key drawing is in stone, and that's the black and white part. And then we did other processes. There was a photo something lithography. So basically, what we did is I drew on a transparency sheet. And then they scanned the transparency sheet, and then they were able to
put with some photo emulsion onto a different stone.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice. And that way the registration all works, because when you're drawing on the transparency, that's above a print from your first key drawing.
Yes. And then we did a lot of back and forth, and I drew back into that transparency sheet, and then back into the photo print. So until we got it right, and then.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so did you do one print in those 2 weeks, or a bunch of different prints?
So we did a lot of test prints. We started off with something small just to see what it would look like. Then we did, I think it was some kind of proof. I forget what the term is, but it's a kind of proof, and we made some notes. And then the 2 student printers that I worked with, after I left the residency, they finished off the additions. And then they went through the Tamarind curating process, where they selected the best prints, and then they additioned them. So,
right. And so do you have those prints, or does Tamarind have some of those too? Or
So I had the prints.
Yeah.
So I think I picked them up a couple weeks ago or a week ago.
And so if people want to see those or purchase those, are those available? Or?
Yeah, so those are available. One of them actually got accepted into a show in Austin, in Corpus Christi, by an organization called Print Austin. And so it's going to a show there. But there's I have about 10 editions of each.
Yeah. And where can people contact you, or is your website?
I'm on Instagram at adrian.aguirre.art. You can also go to my website. It's just my name, Adrián Aguirre, or adrianaguirre.com.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Everyone should go check that stuff out. And you also did, I remember looking through your website, there was work, and I think a lot of people saw these photographs, maybe in the New York Times, I'm not sure where I saw them, of Border Patrol on horseback with Haitian immigrants. And you did work based on those photos, or really powerful stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, so I did a big series of Border Patrol on horseback, and first of all, I just loved the drawing of the horses, but I think for me there was another layer of meaning there. There's using the horse to chase immigrants. It felt there's a historical reference to the conquistadors, or the KKK, the slave patrols, especially because the immigrants were of African descent and they're Haitian. So there's a meaning there, and I think that it also represented the excessive use of force against families, kids,
which we're seeing. I mean, that was a few years ago, and it's the force and fear has gotten much worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were mentioning the rounding people up in Los Angeles, and
that event happened during the Biden administration, and so it goes back and forth. It's been a bipartisan affair. Obviously, the Republicans have gotten worse, but it kind of works in tandem. So I think my hope is that at some point the Democrats make a change, say, hey, we're not going to go along with it. So,
Well, I hope so. And I know a lot of people will see your work because just in the last couple of days, we've had lots of people driving by, yelling out the window, appreciating what we're doing.
Yeah, that's been cool. Yeah.
So everyone go by and see Adrián's work on the Lena Wall on 2nd Street and Lena Street in Santa Fe, and check out his work on Instagram or his website. That's adrianaguirre.com, and that's, for those of you who can spell, ADRIANAGUIRRE, or on Instagram at adrian.aguirre. Dot is like a period. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matthew.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to get back to work and finish installing now. Bye, everyone.